As legal challenges continue to bring light to alleged voter fraud in the 2020 election, the clock is ticking before the Electoral College will meet to cast their votes for president, just 9 days from now. Across the monolithic media, we hear there is no evidence. But actually, there are hundreds of sworn affidavits which are, in fact, evidence. My first guest says she has evidence of voter fraud on the biggest scale in world history, and adds that the Justice Department either needs to get its act together or be cleaned out from the top down, preferably, as she says, with a fire hose and Clorox. Here's my conversation with former federal prosecutor, attorney for General Michael Flynn, and former Trump legal counsel, Sidney Powell. Sidney, there are so many things I want us to visit about, but I need to get something sort of off the table. You have been quoted as saying that maybe voters shouldn't go into Georgia and vote in the Senate election, and that has been a very controversial position. Do you feel like that you really are asking Georgia Republicans to stay home and not vote in that very critical runoff?
No, that was completely misconstrued. Our point was that the system right now is corrupt. The Dominion machines cannot be relied on at all, and we want everyone, Republicans, the candidates, everyone, to stand up and speak out about the fraud that happened in Georgia and find a way to vote in time that allows people to know that their vote is being counted the way they voted it. Because right now, the system is just as rigged as it was 4 weeks ago. We can't trust it. And there has to be a way to get it right so that everyone who votes, and we encourage everyone to vote, knows their vote is real and being counted and not shaded or have results shaved off of it and given to another candidate or otherwise rigged. Well, I mean, you can't repeat the same procedure and expect a different result.
Well, I appreciate your clarity on that, because I think you've been vilified by some people who said that you were trying to essentially throw the election to the Democrats. And I said, I don't think that's what Sidney Powell would want to do. I think I know her well enough. You are a rock star lawyer, and I say that with great affection and admiration for the many things that you have done in your legal career that have been breakthrough moments. What you're dealing with right now in looking at the election and the manner in which it was held in a lot of states, have you ever dealt with anything quite like this before? And why should everyone be worried about it?
Well, even the Democrats pointed this out years ago. I think Carolyn Maloney was the first person I saw raise any issue about it at all. And that was back in 2006, I believe, when she spoke out vehemently against it and wrote the Secretary of Treasury and other people. It never should have been approved by CFIUS to have the Dominion machines used in the United States at all. I mean, none of us realized, well, I mean, I guess a few people did, like she did, and Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar in 2019 realized that our votes were being handled on a Venezuelan-created software platform and sent out of the country to be counted, again, by communist nations with complete hackability and ease of access to almost anyone who wanted it. I mean, we've seen a video of a 15-year-old hacking in the Dominion voting machines in a span of 10 minutes, and a pro can do it in less than 2. We also identified the fact that the Smartmatic Dominion people left VPNs wide open and unencrypted to allow access by all kinds of foreign actors the night of the election. This election was manipulated by evil nations like China Communist Party, which owns 75% of the investment company that owns Dominion, and then also by Iran. There were Serbian people in the system at the time. Liechtenstein, I mean, there were hackers all over in our own election system during the election. And we know that the Dominion machines were created for the very purpose of altering the vote count to ensure the election of people like Hugo Chavez and Maduro in Venezuela. The same thing is happening here now. And this isn't the first time it's happened, Mike. We don't even know how many elections have been rigged by virtue of the software.
And Sidney, not surprisingly, Dominion comes out and says these machines are absolutely foolproof. They're full of integrity. There's nothing to see here. Let's move on. But more surprisingly, because that's not a surprise. But more surprisingly, the media keeps saying there is no evidence. There's no evidence. You and others have shown hundreds of affidavits, sworn statements under penalty of perjury, that means a person could go to prison for lying about it, of people who say they saw funny business going on. How come we can't seem to get the media and even the general public interested in the evidence that you have amassed and distributed?
Well, I think it's extremely unsettling to know that American elections have been just as rigged as elections in third world countries have been. I'm sure the CIA has been involved in any number of those activities. If not here, in other places around the world, it may have been the CIA that created this software and programs to begin with, and then exported them for their own use, only to have it come back to us. It could be that, very important, powerful, extremely wealthy people were involved in rigging this election. It's globalist interest. I mean, frankly, everyone in the world, except for the millions of Americans that wanted to elect Donald Trump to clean up the swamp and drain the swamp, want this world to continue the way it was, with them having all the power and working behind the scenes to rig elections and everything else so that they could profit from their own nefarious activities. It's massive. I'm sure the media companies are involved in it too. I noticed how all the same night, as if they were queued at once, they stopped counting electoral votes and the machines stopped counting in the swing states. It was all timed and planned and organized and funded.
It sounds like a movie script, but we're talking about it in real time. And honestly, Sidney, some of the things that you're saying, it sounds preposterous. It almost is beyond description. In the 1 minute that we've got left, which is not enough time, but I want to keep you on your schedule, you separated yourself from the official Trump campaign lawsuits, and I think the obvious question, why?
Because I wanted to pursue the fraud wherever it goes. And at the time, the campaign was focused on an entirely different avenue of approach to the election issues. I knew how important the fraud was, not just to this country, but to the world. It should, people of both parties, of every party, every political persuasion should be concerned about this. As I said, the Democrats were until this election. So there's no telling how many congressional and Senate seats and even governorships we've lost, Mike, because of this. They've been telling us the country has been trending blue. It has not. That is an abject lie. And we've collected the data that's going to show that, among many other things.
Even though we're out of time, a quick answer on this one. Is it too late to change the results?
No, it's not too late.
Okay.
No, it's not too late. The people must absolutely demand it. The electors have not been chosen yet. The fraud in Georgia is blatant. There's a video of it that's going viral where women in the State Farm arena pulled out suitcases of ballots from under the table after they lied to people about the voting being over and needing to go home because of a break in a water line or something. That was a lie. And they counted for 3 hours and put illegal ballots through the machine. That was more than 20,000 votes for Biden that were false, fraudulent ballots. That alone flips the state of Georgia. And the fact that the senators and the governors haven't risen up and demanded that be fixed is extremely painful and telling.
Well, Sidney, I've often said that if I ever get in trouble, I'm going to call you, and if you ever hear from me in the middle of the night, please take the call. Would you just make me that promise? Thank you for being with us and sharing on our show. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for all that you do.
You can keep up with Sidney Powell on Twitter and her website, sydneypowell.com. You can also pick up Sidney's books, including her latest called Conviction Machine, wherever books are sold.